Thank you, Bad Mary, for that too sweet playing. Welcome to USComicsCAST, episode 87. 2 topics, 1 interview, 90 minutes for the people. I am John Rivera, the CEO and co-founder of US Comics.
If he is the CEO, that must make me the COO and other co-founder. Charlie, don't call me Boom Boom unless you wanna. Re-freaking-Vera. John, my most excellent of brothers.
That's me.
How is your comic book day?
Listen, I cannot complain. As far as comic book days go, it's a good one. Do you know why, though?
I have a suspicion.
Do you really?
Because
I'm looking at you. It doesn't really look like you do.
Last week, you left me completely in the dark to the greatest surprise ever.
That's right.
So let's not bury the lead anymore. What do you got for us? What do you got for us, man?
All I'm going to say is that you would have to be completely out of the know to not know that this upcoming 3rd season of American Gods is going to be getting some dope new introductions, and we just happen to have one of them with us now. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss ASHLEY Reyes.
Hey!
Kermit Arms, Muppet Arms.
Yes.
ASHLEY, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're crazy. Do you want to replace John on the show?
Already?
You can do this week after week.
Come on.
Oh my gosh, how
Come
exciting.
on.
I have a new job.
Come on, dude. Like,
Come on, John. It's COVID, bro. People need
typically
work.
we get to the 30-minute mark before you're offering to replace me, dude. You're just out of control right now.
No one told you not to throw on awesome overalls. You had the choice.
That's
you have the
fair.
cool hat. The hat
that's
loses
fair.
to the overalls.
All right. Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, I am not joining American Gods. ASHLEY is joining American Gods. Ash, I don't know if this has happened yet, but I have got to congratulate you from the bottom of my heart. I cannot be more proud of ASHLEY Reyes. Charlie, I mean, you know, everybody listening and watching, ASHLEY and I go way back. We go back to SPAC. We go back to the theater stage. We go back to white chocolate and coconut gross candy from next door. That's how far we go back. I'm so proud of this young woman here. ASHLEY, it's so awesome. I mean, and again, before we even let her start rambling, because ASHLEY will take over. ASHLEY, I mean, straight out of high school, is a home run hitter, right? She goes over to the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts. When people told her, ASHLEY, you're not going over there, she said, oh, word? Hold on a second. I'm gone. Yeah, I'm over here now. Boogaloo. And they say, all right, ASHLEY, not a bad job. Pretty good. But you know what, though? Now you want to go do your thing on Broadway. It's very hard, ASHLEY. You got to prepare yourself. What? Oh, you're on Broadway already? Yeah, that's right. The play that goes wrong, ASHLEY was boom right there, Broadway debut. I was there. There to see it. Off Broadway to Broadway. Unbelievable. So you know what? Just when you think, here she is, the height of heights, she says, hold on a second. Overdrive, kabam! I'm going to be on American Gods. Unbelievable. Like Rookie of the Year status doesn't even come close to saying what this woman is doing. I mean, we can interview for days, but I guess the first question is, how the hell did you do it?
I mean, first of all, thank you. I am blushing right now. That is probably the nicest introduction anyone has ever given me.
It'll look a little long on a business card, but get it done. That'll be good to hand out.
I'm just going to have you write my IMDb page.
That's fine. I got nothing but time.
But yeah, just a lot of luck. Just a whole lot of luck. And yeah, I mean, you remember me probably better than I probably didn't even have memory when I met you. I was so young. So yeah, like, I don't know. You know me. I just played around until people kept wanting to to give me jobs. So
That's the secret, ladies and gentlemen. You know, and it's funny too because I think literally maybe the first time that we met, you were taking a nap in the downstairs dressing room on a couch that, if it had four legs, and it didn't, if it had four legs, could have gotten up and walking away on its own.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was vile.
just
And I loved that couch.
That's the same way I
that's
feel
how they are.
about
Those are
John.
the best ones. Yeah.
Mhm.
Unbelievable. Every
Vile,
time.
but I love you.
Unbelievable.
You know what's crazy about this, Ashley?
What?
While you and John have, you've worked together in the past, you and I have definitely met, but it was never in a capacity to be like, let's be MySpace friends.
Yeah.
So I quite literally added you, like on Instagram, I follow you based on the casting announcement of American Gods. So one day John
That's authentic.
is like, oh man, you found Ashley online? And I was like, who? I was hoping I'd see like behind the scene photos for season 3. And John's like, no, bro, like Ashley. And I'm like, yeah, who? What are you talking about? So I had this not meltdown, but it's one of these weird things that like I went through the steps of like, follow you on Instagram, get followed back, and I'm like, holy shit, she's like not aware that she's about to be like people are gonna start annoying her on social media, like she's dumb. I don't know. And meanwhile,
and
John's
Charlie
like,
wants
how
to be
great.
the first one.
My friend and my little big brother are getting along, and I was just like, I had no goddamn idea. I was just like, oh, this looks rad, and then immediately I started harassing him for what he knew.
Yeah.
But you're fully ready for every interview that'll follow this, because I tried my best and you've yet to give a single detail. So I want to just start throwing out. I had to write like a list of like 100 questions, and I just erased ones that were like definitely not going to get answered, because I'm like, what happens in the last scene of the last episode? Describe it in vivid detail. But I want to start here, Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read the comics, or did you watch season 1 and season 2 before getting the? I imagine you auditioned, or did they pluck you off of Broadway? I'll ask the first part first, because that's the better way. Were you familiar with the source material or the TV show?
Well, it's actually, so I was a Neil Gaiman fan growing up. Like Coraline was the first book I'd read. Yeah, it was the first book. I was in 4th grade and I read it over and over again. I totally fell in love with it. I thought, this is brilliant. And so when American Gods came out a few years ago, I said to my dad, I was like, oh, let's watch it. Let's do it. I think I was just home from college. I had just gotten back. I was like, oh, let's watch it. And so we sit down to watch the first episode. And within the first half an hour, a man gets eaten by Bilquis's vagina. Yeah. And I looked at my dad and I was like, we probably can't finish this episode. And we were both like, yeah, probably never watching that together again. And probably watching it never again, because that was a scarring, traumatic experience. So then a few years go by, I still hadn't watched the show. And I get this audition through from my agent, and it says, I don't know if I can say the pseudonym for it, I guess would be the word. And so I get this tape that's a made up name. And it says, I have to sign all these non-disclosure things, and I don't know what it's for. And I start reading the description, and it starts saying Wednesday and Shadow Moon. And I was like, I know this. I'm familiar. And I get one page. It is a one-page scene, but it says that it's a series regular. And I was like, they're giving me one page to do for a series regular? Like that. There was no chance that they would be considering me at all. So I was actually hungover. And I woke up that morning and I was like, oh my gosh, I have this tape to do. I'm in my living room and I pull out the blue screen and everything. I'm wearing a beanie and a leather jacket and I look like a mess. And I'm doing this one-page scene, very method. And I send it in, didn't hear anything for like a week. And then a week later, I get an email being like, hey, so the producers saw your tape and they have some notes, but super chill from a casting director. He's like, it's probably nothing. Just here are the notes. You can either come in or you can tape it again from your living room. And I'm like, okay. So I tape it again from my living room.
Sure.
With the notes, which the note from the studio was, put a little sparkle in it.
All right.
That's very similar to Les Yeager. That's what that note really meant.
What that means is don't go out the night before. And so I do it from my living room. And a few days later, I'm on the subway and my agent calls and she's like, are you like sitting down right now? And I'm like, okay, no. So I was like, I'm on the train. She goes, get off the train. And so I get off the train and she's like, okay, this has not happened to me before. But I had also auditioned for another TV show that I was getting close to. And she was like, that other TV show is thinking of offering you, and American Gods wants to test you, but they're not sure what's going to happen because they both know about each other. Like both shows know that they're
bidding war.
So my brilliant manager, thank you, Tiffany, I love you, tells them and starts a bidding war pretty much. And the next morning I get a call saying American Gods is not going to test you. They are going to offer you a series regular. You are going to have a title card. You are going to have to go to Toronto in 2 weeks. You have to uproot your life. They start fittings at the end of the week. And here you go. You're a series regular now. Congratulations. And I was like, I've never been on TV before.
That is the first act of every movie that ends with like, and when she got her 43rd Oscar.
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about?
Like a
It
little,
was like wild.
if you had woken up and Ian McShane was sitting at the end of your bed saying like, I've got to, if you woke up and like you just woke up to this, I have something to tell you. Like it would be more believable than that. That's ridiculous.
I mean, that's happened.
I
to me
love you,
before.
Ashley, and you know I'm a huge supporter since day one. But that movie will never get made because people are like, get out of here. Come on.
Especially in 2020.
Come on.
In 2020, that elicits one reaction.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Mhm.
what?
Yeah.
And I don't mean to cut off my brother, but
You do.
What?
You do. You're doing it on
what's
purpose.
that? What is that moment? What, like,
I wish I had my photo. I have a picture of the moment that I got the call. And
We're gonna drop that into the video for sure.
it's my face like this. just shock. Utter shock. I had also just got a dog 3 days before.
Lucky
Because I
charm.
thought, I am never leaving New York. I'm doing the play that goes wrong for the rest of my life. So I'm going to get a companion. So I got my little Scout.
Scout,
She's a
social media star.
social media star.
Rightfully so.
The other Scout Finch is her handle.
Nice.
And yeah, so we left and went to Toronto about 2 weeks later.
Unbelievable. It's
That is-
unbelievable.
It legitimately is unbelievable.
It's the craziest story, and I almost wish it wasn't true, because every time I say it to someone, they're like, no, there's no way.
On.
And I'm like, that is exactly what happened. If my manager, my agent, they were all like, this has never happened before, but this is happening. And honestly, I don't know if I'll believe it until the show comes out.
I have a
You're like,
quote.
oh, just wake up one morning. I knew it.
I actually have a quote from your team. It's "We gonna be rich." That's what they said. That's fucked up. That's weird that they wrote that.
Yeah, you would think that they have a little bit more control over there. I mean, truly, as Charlie likes to tell people, I sometimes dabble in analogies here and there. Had you opened up a Wonka bar and found a golden ticket,
I quit.
that would have been a more like people can digest, like, oh, good for Charlie. Good. Run, Charlie. Run home. Tell Grandpa Joe to get the hell out of bed. Like, this is just unbelievable. Now, for us peons, Neil Gaiman, he's one of those artists that you just you go all in for, right? So for you, as Coraline, I, as a big comic book head, right? I had somehow or another played the world's best game of Frogger with Neil Gaiman's material. For some reason or another, I was just bouncing around, not coming in contact with the 18-wheeler that was his talent. Until a common friend of ours and a contributor to US Comics, writer, he's got a bunch of characters under his belt, our very own Jordan Hugh. I don't remember if it was for the holidays or my birthday or what it was, but this is a prized possession. I don't keep many paperbacks because, come on, let's go. Who am I, a joke? But this I'll keep forever. So this book was given to me by our very own Jordan Hugh, inscribed beautifully, which, that's private, mind your business. But he in essence told me what a piece of gold this was, and shamed me to a degree for not having known American Gods. It is easily, and it fluctuates, but easily in my top 3 favorite books. But also led me to the rest of his work, Sandman and Death and Diamond Face. I mean, forget about it. I'll let Charles really geek out about all of his content. But this is just one of those books where it's not enough to know it and to own it and be like, it's like not wearing underwear one day and you keep it a secret. No, if you're not gonna wear underwear to work, you're gonna tell everybody about it. Like, that's not a secret to be kept. So this copy stays with me always. But when you really love a book, you get your loaners, right? So this is my loaner, hardcover, can't be destroyed. It's like an Android phone, even though I have an iPhone. You can't mess it up. So the loaner, that's people, if they haven't read it, I put this in their hands. I make a little list for myself, like I was a public library, and I make sure I get it back. I insist that people who if they line up with my way of thinking in any way whatsoever and they haven't read it, I make sure that it's done. So when I found out years ago that they were making a series out of it, I was personally of like 2 different opinions, because when you really love something, bands is probably the best analogy. Another analogy for Charlie, because he doesn't understand things. Bands are the best analogy, because when you really love a band, you love it, but to a degree, you kind of want to keep it a secret. Like, you want to be a little bit, this is just me. It's above your pay grade. But then on the other side of the coin, you desperately want to share, just so people know how smart you are. So that's where I was. So
look what I discovered.
Yeah, exactly. I took it out of the ground like oil.
I'm a victim of that loaner book, because when the show got announced, I got hit upside the head with that book.
Yeah,
and he said, "You will read that in front of me. I will wait." And I did, and he did wait. And after many moons, I was all in. Like, I remember, like, I turned to the channel and I sat cross-leg style in front of my TV, and I waited for 3 days. I'm like, it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
We'll just
I'm
wait.
not
it
gonna
out.
miss a moment.
Just wait out. Now, Ash, obviously I've been following and I have seen it, but officially, are we allowed to drop character names or?
Yeah, my character name has been announced.
Okay. All right.
The basic of what my character is has been announced.
Framework.
Yeah, so I play a character that isn't on who's not in the book. Which, people feel one way or another about. I totally get it, especially when it is this story. I get it. Like, if people are very precious about it. Now, I play a character named Cordelia Diaz. And so Shadow goes off to Lakeside, and Wednesday is kind of left to his own devices, and that's where I come in as a human, and I don't know him pretty much at all, but I come in as a tech nerd, essentially.
Sure.
And I help him I'm kind of like surrogate Shadow, I guess. While Shadow's in Lakeside, I become Wednesday's right hand. Oh my gosh, no hair there though.
Yes, that is something that I want to get to as well, because when series have long breaks, I live off production photos. I live off of breakdowns. I live off of like synapses.
And I'm the nerd.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no. Obviously, Ash. Look, and I'm gonna speak as the resident like love affair with the book and the source material. I also have like a mixed bag of emotions when any content that I love already shakes things up. Yeah. And the short version of it is, and what I would throw at anybody, me personally, not you, because you're above those conversations. Anybody who tried to, or who just brought up like, oh well, there's this character who doesn't appear in the book, and you just look at him straight in the face and be like, oh, you mean like Daryl Dixon? Like how Daryl's not in the Walking Dead comics, but
The Walking Dead, okay.
He is the star of basically the show, and people would riot if something happened to him. Oh, you mean like that? So I think you're in very great company for playing an introductory character. And ultimately, I can say, just as a lover of the source material, that when they make shifts like that, if you loved the source material, be it a comic, a novel, whatever, they're giving you something extra now. Like, how boring is it to sit through a story, like to sit through a family member story that you've heard 50 times before? You're like, oh yeah, I know. And then your hand got caught in the blender. I know, I've heard it. I get it. You slipped on a banana peel. Okay, super. If you're just gonna sit there and listen to a retelling of the same damn thing from A to Z that you already knew, what fun is there in that? Yeah. So things like this, the things that are new, have to be, they're intrinsically exciting. They're a bow. It's the bow on the present. So that's how I see it. Like, I can't wait to see your character play out, because it's new. I can recite most of the book, so give me something new, please, for love of Jesus.
Yeah. And I feel like when you've got a team like American Gods has, when you have Neil Gaiman still producing it, still behind it, they're not going to let anything go through there that isn't going to serve the full story. Like, I think a big part of why people were, saying things was because it got a little bit off track. But at the end of the day, the story's going to come back to the story. So you just have to trust how these people are going to tell that story and make it so that it's a series and it keeps people's interest and it humanizes gods that in a book are fully fleshed out, because you can read their description on a page, which you can't see when you're watching a TV show. Yeah. You need other characters to show parts of characters that you wouldn't see otherwise.
There's something inherent to an adaptation like American Gods has been, that very much lends itself to needing more. It's especially the way Neil Gaiman writes. He tells you so much in the detail that a description of a shirt winds up with huge subtext, but on the show it's a shirt. So like you sometimes need these new characters. They're like pull it out of
exactly. Yeah,
it's the showing, not the telling. And also with something like American Gods, I need more than a film. We talk about it all the time on this show. Some stories do not fit in a 2-hour time frame, and I'm personally a little sick of these movies coming out. They're like, it's 3 hours and 40 minutes. Like, that's a trilogy. Flesh that out a little bit. I'll take 3. Or they're like, it's not American Gods was never built as a miniseries. It wasn't supposed to be 10 and out. It's an ongoing series, and I know I'm ridiculously excited, and I don't want to shift gears too much, but I'm gonna, because it's what I do. I'm a little blown away with, like, when I personally got to connect the dots of kind of seeing your work and seeing you grow as a performer. One thing, it's kind of lame, and I apologize for the compliment part. Don't worry, I'll get to a mean part. But it's tremendous seeing a kind of utility knife or what's the knife with all the stuff in it? It has the toothpick.
Swiss Army knife?
A Swiss Army knife.
Good
there
Lord,
you are with the analogies. It's your job. I wasn't trying to steal your gimmick.
Not an analogy, it's a definition.
Sure. Whatever. I'm not good at word talking. When you have as many talents as someone like you does, and don't do the modest thing where you're like, I'm telling everyone, anyone who has a bidding war are freaking talented. I need to know something for my own mental health. And I need to know, like, what's your most useless talent?
Oh, gosh. Most of my life is a useless talent, except for acting. I would have to be something with food, because other than acting, I'm pretty useless in most other ways. Except I know how to judge time, so that way I can be late until I have to be somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, you plan it out perfectly. I'll be like, okay, so this is going to take me 5 minutes. This is going to take me 4.5 minutes. So that way I get there just on time. I'm really good at that.
I don't know if that counts as a talent, dude.
This is how lame the rest of my life is, other than American Gods.
All that you literally just described frustrating me at a movie. Like, with that one person who shows up, be like, no, the trailers are like 11 minutes, but I wanted to watch the trailers, Ashley. That's my favorite part. That's why I paid $43. You monster. Your power is being a monster, dude.
Ashley's power is ruining Charlie's movie-going experience. She's like, yeah, I got a superpower, bitch, but I'm a villain. What?
That's me. I'm a villain.
I'm going to write your IMDb now, and it's going to start with the quote, I'm a villain. There you have it, America.
That's not bad.
Honestly, I'd probably work a ton.
Honestly,
let me tell you, on the record, if I open up the next Neil Gaiman piece of work and the opening line is "I am a villain," I'm suing you, sir. That's an automatic lawsuit.
Give me all of the money.
I plan on stealing it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, again, you described my nightmare. So I'm going to kick it to John, because I'm now sad. I'm bummed out. I'm phoning in the rest of this.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You know what, Charlie? You cannot ask questions that you're afraid of the answers. Like, come on. You gotta. I need you to raise your game, sir.
When you're right, you're right.
I do want to say that, we speak about upcoming seasons, on the show, and we talk about new shows that are happening and coming to fruition. And we talk about certain networks, I feel, sometimes more often than others, just because it's, in the common, whatever, it's in the conversation in nerddom. So we have to answer that bell. But one of the things that we don't talk about enough is just stars in general. Stars, I'll put it this way: when streaming really first became a thing, not even streaming, when binging really became a thing, Stars was right there for me, man. Black Sails.
Yes.
Black Sails was one of my very first true binges, and it was a binge to the degree of I turned into Ashley. I'm like, well, if I see how this mother sucker gets off the cannonball and see if his leg doesn't get cut off, I'll only be 40 minutes late to work, and I could probably explain that away by traffic or something along those lines. Black Sails was just dynamite, and I can't. Often we'll find ourselves admitting to things that we kind of like look back on during the show and say, "Wow, I shouldn't have admitted that," but I'll admit it. I'll put it out there. It took me far too long to realize that Black Sails was a prequel to Treasure Island. They say the names in the show, John. Like, are you paying attention at all? Like, if you put on closed caption for one episode, John, you would have known it. But Black Sails, obviously American Gods, Luther. For Charlie's damn sake, Ash versus the Evil Dead has pulled Charlie from the depths of depression and sadness on more occasions than once, like a deadite holding onto your leg in the woods. What has it been like production-wise, especially kind of in this COVID-crusted world that we're all living in? I mean, what was the timeline like? I know I was Indiana Jones, running from the boulder, grabbing my hat from under a wall. I was just at PAX East like the day before the world shut down in March something. Mm-hmm. So like how close were you to the precipice of all that?
We had just kind of wrapped primary shooting. We were a week away from our wrap party.
Wow.
And yeah, so I found out on the Saturday, I got a call from our line producer being like, hey, so I just got word that the border is going to be closing in a few days. We need to get you out ASAP before you're stuck here. I only had like a week left, and it was only reshoots, 2 days of reshoots and one more day of ADR. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And I thought I was going to be leaving on the Tuesday. She called me on the Saturday. Sunday, I spent packing. And then she was like, we're going to need to get you out before. So they were going to book a flight, but I had my dog. And I don't have flying stuff for her. So I was like, I don't know what to do. And she was like, we're getting you a car. We've got to get you out of here. I don't drive. So this poor man had to drive me 9 hours from Toronto to New York City. And I felt
in a Zamboni.
I would have done it. That sounds like a good ride. Put the dog up front, you nap in the back.
And it was like, I felt they were amazing about it. But,
That's
incredible. It was amazing. They were so great and so understanding. And they were like, we need to get you home. They got all of us home before they shut down the border, which was great. Because I know a lot of people ended up getting stuck in Toronto on other shows.
Okay.
But all of us got home before they shut down the border.
Wow.
You were almost a Canadian.
Almost.
Like you would, at this point, you would have been dope at hockey.
I mean, I did ice skate once. So
that's all it takes. You're like, you know what, Ash? You're a goalie. Just let the pads do the work. It's fine.
I can just stand there and look like a gingerbread.
She would be late to every game, but it would be fine.
It's fine.
I swear.
Like, oh, we're 3 minutes into the first period, and there's Miss Reyes. Excellent.
It's 33-0 as she's straight to the ice.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
That's terrifying. Now, while in like the early days of it, were you guys like, this is nothing? The super flu.
Oh, like, I was like, this is going to be nothing. This is all going to blow over. I was telling my mom to go on a trip to Italy. I was like, you shouldn't cancel it. You should.
Oh, she is a supervillain, Charlie. You were right. And she's like,
girl.
This was my plan. And yeah, I was like, this is going to be fine. This is all going to blow over. It's such an overreaction. And then, everything.
I mean, that was everybody's reaction. Again, I was in Boston, and it was as if it was the last board in Space Invaders. So you could feel the COVID just coming down out of the sky, and I was mad that companies were. Anybody who doesn't know, so PAX East is like a very big deal. Video game convention. It's like Comic-Con but for video games. And people are all dressed up, and obviously I was there in the US Comics capacity, and I was there with one of our sponsors, the Sarge, and we were just ripping it up. But Sony pulled out right at the last minute. Japan-based company, they knew what the hell was going on.
They knew.
Even Facebook Gaming, who was promised a huge presence there, they pulled out last minute as a company, but everyone physically, the people, were already there. So they said, well, we're here. They, in essence, took over a restaurant that was across the street from the stadium and said, this is where we are. If anybody wants to come, and we'll chill and talk. And none of us had any idea what it was precisely that we were dealing with. And then now we've all been under house arrest since that day. But, that's one of those wow, really, it was a real close type moment. And again, for a cast like yours, you guys are from all over, in essence. That I can't even imagine what that process was even like.
Yeah.
Poor guys.
Yeah, I think everyone
wake up thinking you're a god one day, and
mere mortals, all of us.
Yeah, exactly.
Despite what you play on television, where the clock always looms over. But
sure.
I have one more question for you. My favorite actor is the legendary John Leguizamo. No, a different John. My brother's favorite actor, clearly you, because
ASHLEY Reyes.
you're on American God season 3. As an actor yourself, who is your favorite actor?
This is going to sound so cheesy, and I'm probably going to get emotional talking about it. But I hadn't seen Ian McShane in a lot of stuff before. And before that, it was Andrew Scott, I think, is brilliant. I want one of those little dolls.
You got it.
You got it. We do little thank yous, thank you kits for our guests. I'll be flying on black wings your way.
I mean, he became, talk about the best actor I've ever seen, worked with, anything. He would just be there's just no one better. I would watch him doing a scene, and we'd be in a car together, and we'd be joking around, and then he would start acting, and it was I was in a different world. You go with him wherever he goes. You see everything in his eyes. He knows when things aren't quite right. He knows when he's really nailed something. He's just, and so generous as an actor. There were a bunch of actors that I worked with that were quite, TV selfish actors. He was the most generous actor ever. You felt everything. He would play with you. We would do scenes for hours because he was just let's have fun. Let's do it, and he is the best actor I've ever seen.
That's amazing. Well, Ashley, I know you got a little emotional, but we do have a surprise for you. Ladies and gentlemen of the USComicsCAST. Yeah, no, we don't have, are you kidding? You out of your minds?
I mean,
we don't have that sort of resources.
Legally, we can't because of the restraining order that he has out against me. So if we could ask for any favors, if you could put in a word, maybe have him. Cut it off quick, man.
Early.
Cut off
so early.
You got the hook.
Jeez, I have a blue buzzer now. What the hell? That is time
That's
for
time.
the interview portion.
Ashley, that was
Ashley,
awesome. Ash, that was awesome.
You're awesome. But we're going to go from one awesome to two more awesome things. And right here, we are going to talk about our wonderful sponsors. And no episode of US Comics Cast can possibly reek of as much awesome as an episode like this one has without the musical stylings of Bad Mary.
Bad Mary.
They lent us their talent for the opening track at the very end of the episode. Don't worry, we're going to hit you with another one. Bad Mary Band on social media, badmary.com. I just got a brand new Bad Mary pin for their most recent album, The Return of Space Girl. I also have a sick keychain, and of course I bought a patch, because that's what you do when you're a super fan. You go, I'll take all of this. And I have the best news for you ever. Do you want to support, but you don't have any money? Right now, go to Spotify. You can listen to all of it.
Feel attacked.
Fall in love with an album, add it to your playlist, and kaboom! This episode of US Comics Cast is also brought to you by, take it away, John.
All right. If you have a little bit of time to kill and you want to watch something get blown up, have some fun here and there and some digital violence, who doesn't? Go to Facebook Gaming, check out the Sergeant Finesse, another sponsor of the show. He's awesome. He streams like twice a day. It's just content. 2 streams a day. You can become a supporter. He does viewer games. He does giveaways. Outstanding daily content. Obviously, you can check him out right here on Facebook Gaming. But if you really, really want to support him, and you want to give yourself a little kick, little sugar-free kick, and maybe not have the gunk that goes with some other substances out there, follow the White Rabbit. There's a little Matrix talk for you. That's right. Go to sneakenergy.com. Put in code SGT at checkout. Help out the Sarge. It's delicious.
It really is. And with all that shilling aside, we would only shill if we believed in it. And we do. And we're starting a special petition, and that's get Sarge to play Fall Guys again, because frankly,
that's not a thing.
It's the thing I started.
That
and
goes
Ashley
in the chocolate-covered spam category. He's just making that shit up.
Fair enough. So I'm putting 30 minutes on the clock, and boys and girls, with our wonderful guest here, Ashley. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. But I want to talk about the world that you've now entered, and that is the world of these franchises that people like me can't get enough of. As you can see in my little mini studio here, I just surround myself with endless amounts of
toys.
It's toys. It's definitely toys. But to add more to that giant toy pile, I want to talk about news. I really want to talk about what the DC Comics has on its plate for their new films and new television and new video games coming out, because something really unique has happened. And I specifically wanted your opinion on this, Ashley. So DC Entertainment, DC Comics as a whole, they have finally seemingly found their footing cinematically. And what they're leaning on, and they are leaning on heavy, is the idea of a multiverse. And when I'm looking at what's happening, we got Ben Affleck coming back as Batman. Meanwhile, we have Pattinson just proven everybody wrong, myself included, who I hated his stupid little cowl.
Especially.
Definitely hate myself. Hated his dumb little gun bat. And it took one trailer. They have filmed 20% of that movie, and they cut together 2 minutes that had me drooling and now worshiping at the Pattinson way. I'll word it.
Did you just make that up?
I feel like I stole it from Kevin Smith, because I steal all my best stuff from Kevin Smith, but maybe. Thanks. I'm going to get it on a shirt before he does, and I'm going to sell it. So if you guys want to give me $25, you'll get a shirt I may have ripped off. But I wanted to, that struck me as like a little bit of a head trip. But I'll go the long way to get to the short way. Ashley, when you hear about this stuff, working in the industry, DC Comics is going to hit the ground running, or at least try to kind of reset itself. As an actor, are you just immediately transported to like, oh, you know what they could use? They could use another Black Canary. They could use a new Selena Kyle. Where is this news of a huge property like DC going to be kicking out stuff? Do you call your team and you're like, let's talk to DC? I'm going to conquer television. I conquered Broadway. Let's get me in the movies, baby. What's that feel like to you?
I need you to be my PR person. That's I'm honestly like, it is so exciting because there is going to be so much content coming out, and like so much exciting stuff. I think last year was, as soon as I got American Gods, all of a sudden this whole other world kind of came forward to me, where it was like suddenly I was seeing opportunities for stuff that would be mind-blowing. So yes, would I love to be a superhero or like do one of the many things that DC is doing right now? Absolutely. Do I think it's a little bit difficult considering the pandemic right now? Because my thought is that every actor is out of work right now. Everyone is going to want to do those TV shows and movies. Every single person, which is why they're going to be so good, because they're going to have the pick of every single person on Earth, pretty much.
That's true.
And the content is going to be amazing. No doubt about it. And for me, it's very exciting as like a possibility. But I'm like, even just to have one line in something, I'd be very happy. But like, you know what I mean? It's every single person on Earth is going to want to be doing it. And
well,
so much is coming out.
I thought about that though, Ashley. And as your new hype man, at bare minimum, let's start off hype man. I'll hold your umbrella. I'll make sure people stay back.
Charlie
got you.
Is the new Flavor Flav.
I'm happily. I'll get a clock. I'll do it. I had a thought. I can pitch it to you after the show, but I say we start a petition. There's a lot of gender swapping happening. I would argue that some gender swapping that has occurred lately has led to boku bucks because it reignites characters sometimes. It gives a character that maybe got over on their own way. It's a brand new dimension to the character. It could get someone like John, who at times could be a hater, and really get him on board. And I say, ASHLEY REYES for Vibe. Come on, the Vibe movie. Get out of here, Cisco. We got a new Ramon, and it's going to be ASHLEY REYES for Vibe. Don't worry, I'm going to send you a crate of the comics. I'll send you a crate.
Send it to me because I don't know it, so you have to send it to me.
Oh yeah, it's a character
Ashley,
right now. He's on the John, don't get in the way of this.
And approximately
John,
97% of the world's population.
I call shenanigans.
Don't know who Vibe is.
He's a character on the Flash TV show, the wildly popular Flash TV show. There's a Latin actor who plays Cisco Ramon, aka Vibe. He has like cool vibration powers. He wears cool goggles. I'm going to just send you a mock-up of the costume and a pair of the goggles. We're going to get this worked out. I'm going to kick it to my brother for a second. John, as you mull over how much money we're going to make with Vibe, just buckets.
We're going to owe money.
LLC. John, when you saw all the multiverse stuff coming out of DC, when you and I sat down and we crafted US Comics as a whole, last week you kind of told the story. We went in reverse. We listed all the things that we didn't like, and that's how we crafted our universe, which, Ashley, of course, you pick of the litter. Go through our stuff, whatever character you want, you're in. But you have to work for, friend prices. But, John, that shrug is contractually a lock-in. You guys all saw it.
That is binding.
John, you and I are not always the biggest fan of multiverses. I've given it some leeway, specifically for DC, but seeing the DC movies go the way of DC television and DC animated features, we're getting very clearly a multiverse. They've announced Keaton, Pattinson, Affleck. Who knows who else is going to show up in a cape and cowl performing as Batman in one of these films? Where did your head go to? I got excited because what they were doing didn't seem to work as well. What was your gut reaction to we got the multiverse in full swing?
Well, look, as a DC Comics lover, and you never want to play favorites, but if I had to pick, I would pick DC's slate over Marvel slate. But you can't really deny that Marvel has had the king of the hill status, at least thus far. DC has had hits here, like critically acclaimed hits here and there. Wonder Woman. A lot of people seem to really have loved Aquaman. Would not have been the way that I would have gone, but you know what? My phone wasn't ringing. I don't have Ashley's agents, so I had to just be a spectator. Shazam. I think Shazam was probably, for my money, the most like on point, like hit the right note, mostly for the character. Again, I loved Wonder Woman. I'm very much looking forward to its sequel coming up. But that being said, a lot of the other outings, not for the reason of, well, that's not how I would have done it. That goes without saying, because I'm, like a poor man's genius. But the way that you can, you don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? So when it's one thing, like let's look at Fantastic Four. So Fantastic Four belongs to Marvel, but it wasn't made by Marvel, and they've pretty spectacularly had flops. The first two, well, not the first. The first one was made for like $20. Yeah. So the Chris Evans ones, right? Those weren't like laughable or anything like that. Like there are people that enjoy them, right? They put them on to brighten their day, but they were rebooted. So how great really were they? The reboot took a beating. Like it was like it farted in church and paid the price behind the pews. But Fantastic Four as an entity still has tremendous value. So that is something that can be introduced into the Marvel cinematic that exists seamlessly, because you're not expecting them to hit cleanup. You're not expecting them to drive in all the runs. They can just be a member of the team. They don't have to, carry the load. With DC, now you do have properties that have been successes. So it's not going to be a complete restart. How do you maintain the pieces that you like, even though they're fewer and further between, from the majority, which you do want to reboot or whatever, do over? Multiverse is how you do it, because that'll literally narratively allow you to pick and choose the parts that you like that were successful, and then just start plugging in the gaps. Now, something like Keaton as Batman, coming back as Batman, woo, Lordy. It got me charged up. My mind automatically went to Batman Beyond. Yeah. Because that's a Batman that I'm desperate to see on stage.
The future Batman with an old, crusty Michael Keaton. Yes, please.
Give me a Batman with a moving mouth mask. I'm in. Take my money. It's on. And also, like this kind of goes to what we were talking about, the adaptations. So that's a straight like cartoon adaptation first and foremost. The way that Harley Quinn debuted in a cartoon, Batman Beyond was a cartoon first before anything. Yeah. But we all saw it. We loved it. We had the sheets. We had the lunchbox. So when you get things like that, it really there's just something that it gets activated in you. So I'm super excited for it for that reason. Now, if it was day one and they said, well, 5-10 years from now we're gonna have a multiverse, I'll say, turn around, take your lunchbox, take your US Comics lunchbox, get the hell out of here. I'm excited, yes, and no.
I'm just all the way excited. Clearly, I'm like giddy that, like, again, for me, more is more. Like, let stars have this pile of amazing content, and it feels like every couple of years they're like, did you want Ash versus the Evil Dead? You didn't even think you did? Well, it's what you love. You know what's a real trip for me though is when I was thinking about this, and I did know Ashley was going to join us when I was getting my topic sorted. What a head trip for those actors though, because it's like Ben Affleck was out. He was like playing Batman was fun 1.5 times. Then it sucked. No, thank you. I'm going to go like back to do these art films that I love. And Charlie cries at all of them. And I really do. Like Ben Affleck is just in my heart. But he like did some reshoots and was like, holy crap, being Batman's awesome. I'm back, baby. And I feel like Pattinson was like, Mr. Affleck, I am now Batman. And he's like, shut up, nerd. You're the emotional Batman. I'm the Batman who punches a parademon in the mush, and Keaton's the Batman who like can't turn his head and neck different directions and whatnot. Looking like RoboCop. I'll show you, Joker. But it, like, what a head trip. So when you had this, again, this obvious tremendous opportunity to join this, let's be honest, it's just a killer cast. It's an amazing show.
All-star cast.
In American Gods. But when you left, another phenom of a show, when you kind of stepped off of that Broadway stage, you were replaced. Like someone came in and they're like, hey, you know this part that you've like emotionally owned? Move over, nerd. What's that like? And so again, I hate to hit you with a two-parter, but I'm gonna, and I'll remind you. But not only what was that like, but like, could you imagine if tomorrow they were like, also running concurrently with our hit star show, American Gods the movie. And you know that character that's not in the source material? She's so goddamn popular. Jennifer Lopez is going to play her in the film adaptation. Like, what the hell would that feel like?
That's like one of my biggest fears. Yeah. Like, I am so scared that I'm going to turn on the TV when I know that this show is coming out and I'm going to have a watch party and all my friends are going to be here. And I'm going to turn on the TV and it's going to be someone else's face stepping out of the car. Like, that is one of my biggest fears. And it's probably one of my insecurities, but I know people that's happened to, where they expect to see themselves and they turn on the television and it's someone else. It happened to my boyfriend. He had a part on Mindhunter. And
I respect Mindhunter.
I love Mindhunter. Love it.
So good. But he had a part on Mindhunter, a small part, but still a part. And he filmed it for a month, did the whole thing, turns on TV, is expecting it to be episode 1. He's playing a part on Mindhunter. And it is the same scene, but with a man who was 30 years older than him. And he had no idea. It happens. And
that is a palpable silence, which never happens. That is knuckin'
it's no joke. It's cutthroat. Like, if you're not good, you will be replaced. Or if someone is more popular than you, you will be played by someone else.
Or even if you are good, look at Back to the Future.
Yeah, I mean, you could be replaced by literally anyone. I mean, I was a replacement on Broadway. And so I spent, a while being like, oh, I know I can do this part. I know that I can do this part, but someone else was playing it. And then I took over. So initially I was that person. So I never knew how it felt at first. Oh, that's hard. I'm definitely playing it every night. But so when I ended up taking over and then I had to leave, someone had to replace me, and I was not prepared for how it would feel emotionally. I thought I would be like, oh, well, like on to the next thing, and I can pass the torch on to someone else. And it did feel like that to a certain extent, but it was also like, well, that hurts because I made that. I remember I made that part, and now someone else is doing it. as if it's part of the show, but it's like, oh no, that's just like a thing that I used to do, but no one knows because it's just the show.
I get what you're talking about, Ashley. That's how I felt when Charlie was born. I was like, I have this in the lock, no problem. Got my toy set up, and then like, here comes this goober mouth breather. They even stuck him in my room for like 5 minutes. I said, no.
I mean, you feel like, how dare you, right,
Yeah.
John?
I can tell you on this side of the fence, where I'm just stealing all the fun, like idioms and whatnot. I'm like, oh, John grew out his hair. I'm going to grow out my hair and keep it forever. Oh, John has a goatee. I'll grow a beard. Oh, John's all like good and in shape. I'll be fluffy as fuck. More to go around. You know, it's giving the people what they want. I couldn't imagine it, except I could imagine that fear. I like when the idea of you know what? Not
only because I'll 100% forget because I'm old, Charlie. A good example. I don't know if this would be better or worse. So we'll play the Ashley Nightmares game. A movie that I loved growing up, Tarzan: The Legend of Greystoke. Stoke. Andy McDowell, beautiful actress. She was a model, then went, became a movie star. Charlie would know her from what he refers to as Groundhog's Day in the plural, even though it's Groundhog Day. That's
very
correction
hard
for Charlie.
It is very hard to produce the show.
See, now you've both been schooled. Look, the worst part about it, I love Groundhog Day so much. When Charlie says Groundhog's Day, I'm like, oh, there's a sequel? I'm in. I'm all the way in. But so Andy, she's cast as Jane. Obviously, she's beautiful. And so her version of that was she shows up. This is great. Here's my big break. And when her character up on the big screen opens her mouth, it's not her voice. They dubbed in her entire performance, and it was I think it was Glenn Close who ended up voicing over. Look, it's one thing. Look, if you're Natalie Wood and you're in West Side Story and she's like no, sorry, Natalie, we love you, but you can't sing. We gotta, we gotta do it.
One thing.
Her and this woman's entire performance was dubbed over as if like she recorded it in Japanese and like, well, no, this is for an American audience. So, I mean, that has to be it must have like straightened her curls. That hurts.
Yeah.
Absolutely mortifying. I probably would give up. I'd be like, that should be done. Thank you.
You know what, though? I don't think that's true because I dub all of John's lines in the audio version of the show. He's never noticed. I just replaced the whole track. I got sick of editing out ums, so I was like, I'll just do it my damn self. All about me.
Whatever, man. People can't tell the difference between our voices as it is, so that's probably why I couldn't tell the difference.
They can hear because my nose has been broken so many times. They just listen to like the wheeze. But with these DC comics and this like weird sharp turn, at least for me it feels like a sharp turn. The minute they were talking about the Flash and like 9 Batmen, the thing I got so excited for was post COVID. Like Ashley said earlier, that talent pool is going to be rip-roaring. You could just tell by podcasts that managed to beat us on iTunes because their fans support us, you pieces of garbage. Yeah, you listen to Fake Doctors Real Friends, but you can't give us a 5-star review because JD and Turk from Scrubs.
Reel it in, Charlie. Reel it in.
Okay, I'm fine. I'm not mad at all about it. But what's amazing is these kind of these projects are rip roaring to go, and slowly they're opening back up, but it leaves this tremendous amount of potential because there are a lot of theaters that are going to want money. These video on demand services are doing gangbusters. Netflix can't put up something. Stars can't put up something. These services can't put up a property and not have it like it. Everything has its kind of like week at number one, and something like Stars, which is going to give us episodes, you see that spike. It's everyone's kind of waiting. There's that 8 hours where everyone will watch the new episode of whatever the heck's going on. And DC very much feels in line with that. I don't know. Again, I don't want to put you on the spot with this, but it's this weird. It's my favorite thing to do. It's this very weird thing where we're seeing the tide turn with specifically, it feels very much more with DC than with Marvel. And I don't know if that's just box office talking. Marvel's had a very, very steady, tremendous box office. But something my brother and I were briefly talking about, the tide is turning with creators. And I think American Gods was one of the early creative properties to stand up. People who love these properties are getting to play in those worlds now. They're multi-million-dollar fan films, and what's amazing about that is the first Suicide Squad, a movie that I enjoyed quite a bit, but it didn't really ever find its audience, that at least didn't feel the need to put that asterisk on it of I know why people dislike it. I just enjoy it for what it is, but I'm like prone to find reasons to love things. And there are some performances in that movie that resonate with me. But you literally have a tremendous creative mind getting the reins for the Suicide Squad, the second installment in the Suicide Squad franchise.
Suicide Squads.
Yes, this is John. They don't do that for every movie. That was just Alien and Aliens. But I know you're new to the possibilities and you're new to this world. These doors kind of got blown up for you, but knowing that landscape in comparison to just a few years ago, knowing that you could wind up on a set where you're in My Vibe movie, knowing that you're going to walk on that set and there's going to be applause for moment one because there are people that are so obsessed and so in love with some of these fictional characters. Again, I'll throw you another. I'll throw it to John first. Actually, what does that tell you, John, about the world right now of movies? Because for the longest time, the most boring thing people were saying were, adaptations aren't art. They're just cash grabs. They're the money men wanting
now
another Superman.
People,
another Batman. Do
you mean Charlie? I've definitely heard that sentence come out of your face.
My Twitter. I've said it on the show. It's 87 weeks later. We're on the precipice of people who love things getting it back and getting these opportunities to tell their story. Josh Trank is a tremendous, tremendous creator. I would argue he had no business being put behind the helm of Fantastic Four. They put a square peg in a round hole. What you want is someone who loves Fantastic Four to make a Fantastic Four movie.
Sure.
John, what are your thoughts on this new wave? Because it seems like it's going to work. It seems like the guy who made Joker loved the Joker, and therefore we got an amazing Joker. So I'll start with you, John, and then we'll kick it to Ashley.
Well, I mean, honestly, like there's a big difference between a gig, which a performer, a creator, whatever whatever your business card says. Look, artists have to work, right? Art. You can't. Art is going to automatically feed you. You can't paint an apple then eat it. So, to a certain degree, you need to work for your sustenance, so to speak. Now, Josh Trank was building a name. I don't think for a second that was his passion project. That being said, an artist is look. As an actor, Ashley can't rewrite the scene. She can only, portray the lines that are on the written page, and she's going to do it to the best of her ability, and she's going to do things that maybe the writer never thought was going to come out of those words. But there's only so much that the performance can get out of it if the source material isn't good. And I think for something like Fantastic Four, that's what we saw. Because if you're looking at something with just purely an artistic eye and say, well, this shot is beautiful, this nuanced scene between these characters was really great, you can do that. You can find those things. But then when you step back, and those are the trees, like you can say this tree out of a million is beautiful, but when you step back and look at the forest, you're like, meh, not so great, right? And I think a project like that, that's what you're going to get. With passion projects, something like Charlie was going on and on and on for the last 30, 40 years of my life about the upcoming Bill and Ted movie. He wouldn't stop. It didn't make a difference what we were talking about. Like, oh no, the Vatican's on fire. He's like, you know what else is going to be fire? Bill and Ted 3, son. Boom. He pulled it out no matter what was going on. But I watched it just the other day. That's a passion project. So, I mean, and it was a fun movie, and it was silly like a Bill and Ted movie should be, silly. But if you really look deeply at the project, you can see, and Charlie can write a thesis about it.
And I have.
And exactly. Soon to be published by US Comics. All these little small nuances, that's the difference between a passion project and a paycheck project. And obviously, you can speak to it better than anybody here. I mean, I'm sure a project like while you're doing, you're like, oh boy. But obviously you're going to put your best foot forward always.
Always, yeah. I think there's a huge difference, especially when you're working on a show that is a passion project like American Gods. There is a huge difference between when a director loves the show, knows the show, and when it's a director that's coming in just to direct one episode and isn't totally familiar with the show. It's like night and day. Because you see how much effort they put into it and how things fit with the style of the show, and they know how to get performances out of us that are in line with the show and will really benefit the show and things like that, as opposed to a director that's just coming in who's a very talented director but doesn't understand the show.
Right.
One of my favorite things about American Gods was this season. There is a girl writing for the show. She's my age.
Wow.
And she's my age, and she is the biggest comic book fan, the biggest American Gods fan. Like, she is sci-fi to the core. This is what she loves. She's my age. So she hasn't done much before this, awesome. But they brought her in as one of the head writers this season because she is so in this world. She's such a badass. And she just knows how things sound, how things should be written so that way it makes sense within the world, and so that it keeps the audience interested. And it was totally necessary to have her come in this season, especially in a show that's in its third season, to really make it pop. Having someone who is just obsessed and lives and breathes this world makes a total difference.
That's so exciting. It's just exciting to hear. It's the thing, like, as a huge fan, and again, it's an easy show to love as much as the source material. It's just an epic. I love that buzzer as much as I hate it. That is awesome. That's amazing. I cannot wait. I'm gonna wait. I don't have much of a choice, but I shouldn't be able to wait. But
wait, and you'll like it.
It's true. We're at the lovely portion of the show where we desperately plea to the old gods and the new to get the people and the things we love over and into your hands.
Sure.
I'm going to go first because mine is very
Typical.
obvious. It has been 30 years in the making. I have mentioned it concurrently for the last 86 episodes. Ladies and gentlemen, this
Since
week's
episode
episode
2
is unofficially brought to you by Bill and Ted Face the Music, available right now, video on demand. If I had to make a recommendation, get that bad boy on Amazon. I'm not an Amazon guy traditionally, but if you buy it on Amazon, $25, you get to watch it now and then watch it forever, as many times as you want. And if you're the youngest 35-year-old ever, and if you're on a most excellent crisis
I thought we would get away with it
of in and happiness, like me, I have seen the movie already 3 times. I am not ashamed. It is a very
of anything.
It's true. It is a very tight 90 minutes. If you loved Excellent Adventure, if you loved or liked Bogus Journey, and even if maybe you didn't like Bogus Journey, Face the Music, John buried the lead a little bit before. It is everything I think I could have possibly wanted from a third installment, but also on multiple viewings, and even on that first viewing, this movie affected me in a very legitimate way. It means the world to me.
Don't be gross, man.
How dare you? It meant the absolute world to me. It pulled at my heartstrings. It made me think about the world today in a unique way. It put a never-ending smile on my face. I cannot say enough good things about Bill and Ted Face the Music. So just do me a favor if you think you even might like
please,
it.
Please, just watch it for Charlie.
Let's keep this number 1 for like ever, because it's the film that we need right now.
I'm not sure who's in Charlie's pocket, Keanu or Jeff Bezos. Somebody is elbow deep in Charlie's pocket right now. My recommendation, look, HBO Max right now. There's a lot of good material out there. But like a lot of the things that you end up really enjoying the most, you didn't see it coming. And if you guys give this a watch, it'll give you a little bit more of insight into my survivor's remorse that you see here on a weekly and here on a weekly basis. Catch Class Action Park. It's a documentary. It is about literally the most dangerous water park to ever have existed. In the 80s, I was a victim myself. To say, you can't say that someone died there. It's a question of how many people died there. It's actually not a question of how many people died in the park. It's how many people died on which particular ride. G-forces messing people's necks up. I'll put it this way. There was one particular ride which was like the first thing that you saw when you first got to the park, and this is in real life. So when they first put the ride up, people looking at it were like, no way. And the owner had to give employees $100 a pop just to test it. And this was in the 80s. $100 was a lot of money. So the first few people came out bloody mouth, all scraped up, like limping, hurting. So they fixed the angle, so to speak. We're like, no, we got this figured out. The next group of people that tested this particular ride, one ride out of like a ton of them, they came out straight up like ripped up. And nobody could figure out why. So they dismantled the ride. The first pass of people, they were losing teeth. They were hitting, when the ride loop-de-loop, they were hitting so hard, they lost teeth. Said teeth became embedded in the ride itself, like the tube that you slide down. So when the second group of people came down, they were getting toothed. Just opened up like a Christmas Day present. That, guys, happens within the first 5 minutes of this documentary. It is so good. It's simultaneously horrifying and at the same time completely nostalgic because I went there. I remember having a great time. I remember thinking, I should have died today. Like a wave pool where multiple people died. A wave pool. Like, what are you doing? And this guy was a character upon characters. I don't want to go on too long.
Damn,
It's
dude,
a great documentary. So
the late
worth the watch.
60s were crazy. I'm so glad you survived.
You know what,
that.
Charlie? I'll slap you into
happened?
next week's episode.
What happened?
We'll open up to the introduction and you'll still be spinning in the chair. Do you understand?
I do.
Anyways,
Worth it.
that's our plugs. Charlie, do me a solid. Start the clock for me.
And you're on.
All right. So, obviously, where I'm coming from, huge American Gods fan, Neil Gaiman fan. He can do no wrong. Like behind me, I have multiple Neil Gaimans lined up. Again, kind of go back because Charlie jumped my spot in the topic, but it's fine. I'll yell at him later about that.
You were supposed to go first?
Yeah, that's right. So when you get these announcements that something you love is coming to fruition, you get all jazzed up and you just can't wait. And then every little bit of news that comes in, dribs and drabs, you get super excited about. You in essence, you're like free advertising. So for me, for American Gods, that was the definition of the event. That also, though, starts your mind going down the road of, well, now this has happened. This is an actual thing. A very good friend of mine who I grew up with on stage from an embryo, she started, and now she's starring in the damn thing. That excitement level, you can't really have that expectation ever. You're like, oh, American Gods is coming. That's awesome. I wonder if Ashley will be on it one day. Like that's not part of the process. However, now that we've established this, you do automatically start thinking about what other things that I love can now be plastered up on the big screen. Or my personal preference, more than anything else, I love what Starz is doing with American Gods in telling it long form. Because I agree also that if someone had the audacity to try to take American Gods from cover to cover and try to make even a 2-hour movie about it, I go. Like you've already got my money, but I'd be skeptical. It's so dense. There's so much good material. And like Ashley astutely brought up, the one thing that TV and movies can't do for you is put you inside the protagonist's head, right? Unless you're getting like a voiceover, which you can only you can only play that trick once or twice by hearing voiceover. That's their thoughts. Like you've got to play this stuff out. You know, you need to give it context. It needs to be conversational. It needs to be something that you see. You need the viewer to put two and two together to get to that place that Neil Gaiman could do in a paragraph. You're like, I get it, right? So I started thinking about like, okay, well, what's next? And this is something that we had teased in the past, but at least coming from my perspective, it was like teased because, yeah, it's fun to talk about because it'll never happen. Now with everything that's coming out and the way that they're doing things, I'm thinking this might happen. Like this could actually come. American Gods I love, one of my top 3 on a rotation, but one of my other all-time favorite books, The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. Michael Cavanaugh is one of those authors where when you read them, you're like, this is forever, this relationship. I will read anything this man puts out. And I have, I won't go into his resume, but he's put out tremendous books. I'll read anything that comes out. If this gets adapted, or rather, I should say at this point, when this gets adapted, I might be. I don't know what I'm gonna do, to be honest. When I hear the news, if it happens on a Monday, I might not literally get out of my seat in front of the TV or whatever movie theater, if those exist again, until this project comes out. For me, it's just tremendous. So the short version of the story, they're comic book creators, like in the vein of Siegel and Schuster. They were young men who created what ended up being the same way that Siegel and Schuster created Superman, which is like, oh, Superman, right? They created a character which in essence kind of like just blew up, and the character was just everywhere, and it, it is really allegorious to the Superman creation story, but they do so in a different way. Like these characters, it's a cousin, they're cousins to each other.
Allegorious.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
excited about that word.
So but it's the story of it all is just tremendous. I can totally see this on Stars, starring ASHLEY REYES. I can see this on HBO, on Netflix, on where whatever, like these network studios which are producing such great content. I would trust them with a beloved work like this anytime. Like, take it away. The best compliment I could ever give is I would trust them with US Comics material. And to do that, that's like you giving away part of your heart. When you buy in to somebody else's vision of the thing that you love the most, there's a lot of trust involved, and you're in for a penny, in for a pound. You're there. You're gonna, it's conversations, it's water cooler talk, it's post, it's episodes of US Comics, it's everything, right? So my question to you guys, and I'll give a little build up, but we'll go to ASHLEY first because we heard enough of Charlie. What project that we have yet to see is your guys' Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay? Now, it doesn't make a difference what the source material. It could be a novel, it could be a book, it could be Grandma Tilly's, holiday story. It could be some around the campfire that you heard with the Girl Scouts. It can be, and I'm talking to Charlie about that. It could be any adaptation that you want. Truth be told, it could be a remake. It could be the big screen version of something that you saw on the small screen, or reversed. You saw it on the big screen. I want to see the long extended version. A similar example, just to give you guys a little build up further. I'm a huge Stephen King guy, and of the Stephen King canon, I love The Dark Tower. Like, I would say I love it like I love Charlie. I said like, by the way.
That hurts real bad.
But I'll put them on level. We'll put them at, it's a tie. Right? It's pushing. Depends on the day. A movie came out, which you want to talk about, like, oh, Cordelia is not in the book. Eyebrow. What happened in the movie version of The Dark Tower never happened in like over 9 books. It was complete departure. I mean, to say that you can't compress one novel comfortably inside of a 2-hour movie, I think we are all in agreement there. How do you compress a series of books into a 2-hour outing? You just can't do it. So my heart broke into a kabillion pieces when they said, no, you're not going to get a movie, then a long series. And, I mean, they've adapted it into comics, into this, into that. It's so much material. And again, the Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, so much happens. Look, if they made a movie, I would see it, but I would far prefer the long form storytelling of it. Like, that's really doing it service. So, I mean, ASHLEY, I'll throw it to you. Is there anything on like you pass by it in the bookshelf or it pops up?
Oh yeah, I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab the 2.
Nice.
Look at this. See this, Charlie? Props. You understand?
Damn it.
Props are not just something that we give out willy-nilly. Props are something that a storyteller uses to get the story across.
I like that you use that word both ways.
Professional.
You're like props and props.
Okay, so first, my main one. This one I pulled because it was the one that I thought of. I'm a big Chuck Palahniuk fan. This Damned, I would love to see, because I didn't
Yes.
actually like the book. To me, was like, this is great. It's not my favorite, but I think it would be great on a screen. It would be super interesting seeing all of the characters interacting with each other, from the teenage girls to like. I just think it would be super interesting. Now, the one that I've had an idea for years, which Johnny Depp was meant to make this, but it never ended up happening, which is a real shame. Shantaram, anyone?
Not familiar.
It's about a heroin addict, New Zealand, who escapes out of prison, then flees to India and becomes kind of engulfed in the opium, the black market. And it is so good, and just it's based on his life story. It's like semi-autobiographical. It's insane, and it's super long, so it would be a great series. But this is, as it says on the cover, a novel of the first order, a work of extraordinary art, a thing of exceptional beauty. It is fantastic. Highly recommended.
Dynamite. That's a solid. Go ahead and pop that on the to-do list.
Add that to Amazon. It's almost your birthday. I'll get it for you, John.
And you know what? You say that Johnny Depp was. I can absolutely see him in a role like that. Like that's right up his alley.
Yeah, and it would be so good. And yeah, it's about love and danger, and yeah, it's fantastic.
That I
dig it.
I don't love going after someone as talented as Ashley, because like I don't have nearly as good of an answer. I'm going way more boring. I will keep Chuck being mentioned, because Fight Club 2 and 3 I think would make an amazing series. I think it would be ballsy. I think it would be unexpected.
In the Chuck school, huh?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna give a couple, because I'm not nearly as eloquently gonna pitch it, but I just think that would be something that again, stars could make a hell of a series out of it, with just kind of being very true to its very, very just messed up source material. I could really use something messed up. Also, I'll give a very, very boring answer as well. As we sit, still a year away from Ghostbusters Afterlife, there was an old idea pitched for Ghostbusters, where the whole idea is there's a bunch of franchises because ghosts are back. You can center it on one group of Ghostbusters and get a really cool core group of people who it could be a 30-minute workplace comedy in the world of Ghostbusters, without having to step on the toes of Peter, Ray, Winston, and Egon.
Can you imagine
this whole new group?
I love that.
Can you imagine like a Ghostbusters TV series, like in the school of The Office or
Exactly
Parks and Rec?
Brilliant.
Oh.
Yeah,
or like a What We Do in the Shadows sort of vibe.
Exactly, like a mockumentary with just all I imagine is and again, this is an idea that there was a working script for Ghostbusters 3 at one point that had elements of this, but it was a film. The big thing I always imagined, film. The big thing I always imagined was just, and it's such a boring joke, and the joke doesn't always work, but the idea of someone walking in to a workplace just covered in slime. And just like, how'd it go? Like one of those like very obvious jokes of and just set up that sort of tension and that sort of dynamic. And for someone as obsessed with certain aspects of pop culture, I'm so excited for Ghostbusters Afterlife. But imagine getting 25 hours of an hour long, or again, I think a 30-minute sitcom would probably comedy would be best.
I will see your Ghostbusters bet, and I'll raise you. What if you did it in the vein of like an American Horror Story, where every season
absolutely
you had a little twist? So maybe like an entire season was Boston Ghostbusters, and then you had like, to me would be particularly fun with that theory, with that concept, would be to lump in particular actors who you automatically associate with one
100%.
another. So
Yeah.
like you would have to have like, you know, like Rogan and Franco, they'd have to be together, and
Yeah.
I
That
mean,
was the elevator pitch. It was Max Landis wrote this pitch. And that was his big finale. Was every group of Ghostbusters was another group of comedians.
he's ripping me off, that son of a.
I mean, or the
skinny
opposite is
son of
possible.
a
But like, how great would it be to see,
beanpole
like,
mother.
even if it's just for like the opening credits, you see
Oh,
like
yeah.
Joe Rogan get out of a car, and it's like his little band of tattooed misfits, like just yoked up Ghostbusters, and then you cut, and it's like
cauliflowered eared Ghostbusters. Like, oh, that's those guys.
you know, you have like the Hollywood Ghostbusters are like all models, so like they don't actually bust ghosts, they just do like Entertainment Tonight, and they're working.
They're all just doing selfies with their proton packs, and
exactly right. And they'd be like the one franchise to make money, but it would be on merchandising. It's like the action that's my new action figure this fall.
That's freaking dynamite. You know what? You're talking about merchandising, but
where the real money's made.
that's right. Yeah. If Mel Brooks taught me nothing, he actually taught me a lot. I can't even finish that sentence, but merchandising is one of them. Ashley, how far away are we from a Cordelia bobblehead? That's the real question. So
man, my head would explode.
You had mentioned your head, the haircut, right? For particular characters is there's a big change on the horizon, and like I do my due diligence. So when you're a fan, there are responsibilities. Like you got to do your homework.
Yeah.
So in doing my homework, Mr. Whittle, who I don't want to make any presumptions. I don't know what characters, which particular performers you spend most of your time north of the border with. But have you seen my man bust a move? Because Shadow Moon is a hell of a dancer.
I had the pleasure of spending too much time with Sir Ricardo. We became very close. I saw him dance many a time, and he is hilarious and a great dancer. I mean, Ricky can move.
That is everything I ever wanted to hear. So much so, Ashley has abandoned us.
You know what? On that note,
Stars was like, we said no spoilers. Hopefully we'll get Ashley back in the room. Hey!
Oh my gosh. That panic.
Charlie instantly was like, oh no. What do we do? We got cut off. Big Brother shut us down.
Well, I blame Stars. I was like, Stars came after her.
They heard me and they're like
saying he could dance. He cannot dance if he wants to. He cannot leave his cares behind.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
No worries.
No
worries. But yeah, like what I was saying and what I was jibber jabbering with Charlie about was the stuff, like as on a fan level, the stuff that you end up finding, like the bonus DVD like level of fandom, be like, oh, look at this, the stuff that you find out. Now granted, you're finding these things out in the first person. Like the person sitting next to you in makeup is like, oh, they've done this and that. So and I don't want to belabor the point, and I don't want to get into any. I do. I mean, a little bit, just just around the edges. But I was taking a look at, again, on the fan level, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is stuff that's been put out there in general. Some of the recurring and guest stars that we're going to get this season are like I mean,
What?
just the fact that Danny Trejo is showing up may kill Charlie. Like that might it just might be too much.
Machete.
It might be too much.
Machete is in the building. Very much apparent in this season.
That's what else do I see? Marilyn Manson shows up.
Yeah.
Blythe Danner.
Yes, and the loveliest human.
Thank God. Thank God.
That's
the other worry. I'm like, I love this person. Please don't be a jerk. Please don't.
Oh my gosh. A gem of a human being. Like, so kind. To be fair, like, if you would ask her who I was, she would probably have no idea. But
I got that.
we didn't spend a lot of time together, but she was just so kind and so, like, interested in other people and was not completely down to earth. Just was so cool and was just, like, sitting in the green room across from me on her couch. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what I'm doing here.
It's
she
just
was so
surreal.
good. I remember what it was. We were shooting. What were we shooting? Episode like, and I was in the makeup trailer, like 2 seats away from Manson, and that was one of the most surreal moments of my life. Because I was sitting there, and I, you play it cool. You don't want to be like freaking out. It was like 4 a.m. and I'm sitting there and he's just getting his makeup done. He's getting his hair done, and I had to kept looking over, but had to be really subtle about it. And then the hair woman would be doing my hair, and I was just like, I can't focus on anything you are saying right now because Marilyn Manson is on the other side of the makeup trailer. But we had a good chat. We talked about his cats. The first time I met him, I completely geeked out, and I was like, I have to tell you, like, when I was in high school, I loved you, and and he was so cool. He was like, yeah, thank you, like, I really appreciate. He's very tall, he's huge, so he was like, yeah, I really appreciate it. Like, oh, thank you, and lovely guy, but just a bizarre experience.
At least you didn't hit him. At least you didn't hit him with like the beautiful people. Am I right? Just try to play it cool.
I heard that you were the friend on the Wonder Years. Shut up, kid. Like, yeah, I would imagine you got to really pick and choose.
You gotta play it cool in front of certain people.
Dude, it's a good thing I'm not that talented, because there's no way I'd be able to do that. There's no way.
We probably wouldn't have to, but I mean,
John had to talk me down for 25 minutes for this. And like, I haven't seen the episodes yet.
I know.
And I was still like,
you're
gonna be on one of my favorite shows. Just through a table. It was bad. It was bad.
I'm like, Charlie, I wouldn't care, except that was my table. What are you doing? Reel it in, man. Reel it in.
That is so awesome.
I can only imagine, truly, going into a world, literally a world that like existed before you showed up. I would imagine that if a person was there, a performer was there day one, kind of at inception, it's a little bit more, it's more easy to be kind of grounded in the work.
Mm-hmm.
But to step in, I mean, Ramsey Bolton, shows up at some point, and it just wouldn't be possible. Like, it's like, we need a Puerto Rican hot dog vendor, John. We're calling your number, baby. I would give myself about 15 minutes hard out before I'm like escorted by security. I would just be assailing every performer as they walk by. I know you. Here's a stupid fact about you that you clearly knew already, but I'm just going to show you that I also know them, because that's what I do.
The time that you were in that movie? That was awesome.
like
Just
as
awful.
soon as you get like hang out with everyone, we became very close very quickly. They were so nice. They are really like a family, and they brought me in, which was really nice. And every time we would all hang out or go out somewhere, go out to eat, you get really close to everyone where it becomes like doing scenes with your friends instead of being like, holy shit, Emily Browning, I'm doing a scene with you.
Please don't sucker punch me.
Seriously, like being a teenager watching Emily and now knowing her is like so
That's
so
nuts.
weird. Being a child, being like, you were the girl in Series of Unfortunate Events. I loved you, and now it's crazy.
I
but
mean,
they're all so normal.
are you ready though for like that shift? There's no putting the genie back in the bottle. Broadway, don't get me wrong. It's not like Broadway's local theater. Broadway is this mountain that some people spend their whole life trying to climb, and that's a worthwhile journey. It's a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
Very rarely does someone get to say like, nope, I am on Broadway. Like, this is the really real world, let alone now getting to, I don't want to call it transcending that, but going to a field that's a wider universe.
Yeah.
There's some people that Broadway they know of it, but they don't necessarily geek out the way John and I and you, I'm sure to a certain extent, still do.
Yeah.
Is that weird? Like when this release date is announced, that is, barring that they didn't CGI you, and it's going to be like a pelican. God forbid. Cordelia
is now a cat.
But she has like a cool Latin flavor. What is that something that you're like, oh, like everything's about to
you're like, is there a preparation for that?
Yeah, I honestly
did
like
they give you a book?
Well, actually, like I was talking to my manager and my new PR person the other day, and they were like, we're going to give you a booklet of everything you can say, everything you can't say, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh, homework. That's great.
Homework. Lots of homework.
That's why I want to go into this profession. Homework.
All of the homework. And because on one hand, it feels like everything could change. My life could be blown up. There could be no more privacy, blah, 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 blah. Or it could be exactly the same. There could be that thing of, it could just be I'm on a TV show and there's no real change. If people aren't that crazy about my character, or if blah, 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 things might not change at all. But on the other hand, things really could. And I could have, however many Instagram followers and do interviews and things like that and have many jobs lined up, which would be wonderful. But who knows? It could just be an incredible experience, and it's cool to watch myself on TV, and I'm exactly the same as I was before, which I would be anyway. But it could be the same thing where it's nothing could happen. So I think I don't know if I'm preparing myself for either one, but I think I just know that either one could happen.
If I can make a recommendation, there's option 3. You become like one of the faces of the industry and just somehow ignore it. And you just live the Keanu Reeves, where like he's been in love and dating this woman for like 48 years and no one saw her until last Wednesday because he didn't want to like get a second hotel. He was like, no, just come to the premiere of John Wick 8. Charlie's asking me for an autograph again. And meanwhile, one of the biggest megastars ever. I vote that every time.
I think that's a great way to live.
But if you need fluffy security, US Comics got your back 100%. My rates are fantastic.
They're really not, though. They're really not.
They're bad.
I feel like you're overcharging me.
Admittedly.
I can't wait for the new season. That is going to be ringing and ringing and ringing. I guess technically we do owe last week's guest Lear the courtesy of continuing to root for the Islanders as their
I say it with a heavy
as their
heart.
march to the playoffs continues.
Go Islanders!
I mean, we got nothing else going on. You know, we may as well, I guess. Actually, that's our time. I can't thank you. Literally, I can't thank you enough.
My pleasure.
Contractually, I cannot possibly thank you enough. So we'll probably do like skywriting, occasional letter writing campaign. Yeah, we'll get it done. It'll just be on the plan. I know you feel that you're not sure what the options can be 1, 2, or Charlie's 3. I'm pretty confident. Like, I know my way around a betting slip, and the good money, the Vegas money, is saying Ashley Reyes is on the doorstep of stardom. And the most important thing to come out of it is that US Comics had you. We lined you up. We lined you up. It's official.
I'm going to put a salacious title too. We're going to re-release this episode once everyone's talking about it. It's going to be like Ashley Reyes comments on the DC Cinematic Universe and like just imply you said something nasty.
We are going to.
I'm secretly going to say Ashley Reyes for vibe.
We are going to go the director's cut route and re-release this episode at least a dozen times, like different lighting.
Special edition.
We're going to have Andy McDowell dub in Charlie's voice so that she kind of comes full circle. I think she'll do a lovely job.
Me too.
I mean, again, Ashley, I don't want it to not be said. We appreciate so much you giving your time to us and joining us. I cannot wait with bated breath on the edge of my seat. All the stupid analogies of I can't wait for this to happen. I cannot wait for this to debut. One of the things I'm looking forward to the most is my inevitable I knew her when. And also let anybody knowing if they're stage dooring Ashley, white chocolate with coconut is gross. But I can tell you where to get it, and it always goes over. Ashley, you're the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you both so much. This was so much fun.
You know what?
Acting.
I'm still gonna shoot my shot. Please come back. Please do this again.
Oh my gosh! Please have me back.
You can replace John tomorrow. I can't pay you anything.
She didn't even ask if she could. You're just throwing it out there as an option.
And you get John's hat. I'll clean it. It'll just be a great look.
I mean, that'll be fine. I got a lot of them.
For the tremendous Ashley Reyes, I am the COO of US Comics. My brother is the CEO of US Comics. And you know what the mission is. Go to all of our social media at US Comics HQ, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the YouTubes. Hell, you can even find us on Twitch for some reason. We don't play games, but they put up the videos and people like it. You can also rate, comment, and subscribe our show on iTunes. It's USComicsCAST, but you can listen to the show wherever you can hear a podcast. Boom. US Comics is there. You want a t-shirt? Send me a message on social media and I will sell you one at a high markup.
Never mind.
John, I have to ask you this, and I'm going to ask you it in front of the tremendous Ashley Reyes. What is the only way that we end episodes of US Comics Cast?
Turn on stars and wait for the debut of season 3 of American Gods?
That's accurate. In fact, unsubscribe to stars and resubscribe and send them an email saying it's only for Ashley Reyes.
That's
but
fair.
What's the other step, John?
Oh, that's right. You got to listen to a little bit of Bad Mary. Take us out.